All right, shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to Shabbat Conversations with the Avads. I'm Shad.
And I'm Chris.
All right, so today's episode, we'll be talking about how to handle marital disputes or marital issues. Okay, so this should be a really, really good one because I know a lot of people out there and a lot of relationship channels try to make relationships look so rosy all the time, like everything is all just perfect. But we're gonna give you the real. Relationships are not always perfect. It's not always beautiful all the time. Well, it is always beautiful. Everything, the ups and downs they're all beautiful, but there are ups and downs in a marriage. There's ups and downs in relationships. Sometimes our personalities they'll clash.
Very much so.
Upbringings will clash. Stuff like that, it will clash. So, we're gonna dive right into the topic. So, handling marital disputes. So, oh,
Disclaimer. I feel like there's a lot of ways to to handle marital disputes in a healthy way. These are just some of the ways that we have learned to handle our
yes,
disputes in a healthy way
trial and
and to
error.
open up the conversation potentially for y'all to figure out or just to discuss what do you think is healthy in y'all relationship, in y'all's realm of y'all's marriage. What's healthy for y'all? What works for y'all? Everybody is different. Everybody handles conflict. I think it's a pretty defined square of what is unhealthy,
Yeah,
but what is healthy is kind of like couple by couple.
that's true. And just before we even get started in this topic, when it comes to marriage, I just want y'all to understand. For those that are not married yet, or even the ones that are married or newly married,
And we're not experts. We're relatively new.
yeah, we new too. So I'm not here acting like I'm a relationship guru, but maybe these are some things that can help you in your relationship. Is that marriage is work. I just want y'all to understand this. Marriage is work. Love is work. Because not every single day is going to be pretty. You're going to have moments. I'm going to say this right now. You're going to have moments within your relationship where you're not going to be feeling your spouse. I'm just telling you, it's going to be moments where you're going to be like, I'm just not feeling you right now. I ain't tripping about you right now. I don't want to hug you. I want to kiss you right now. I don't really care about you right now. I'm just being honest. There's going to be times where you can be like, I don't really care right now. It's in those times where you have to continue to work to please your spouse, work to make sure that the relationship is still healthy. Because you're gonna go through those moments where that honeymoon phase is gone. That whole lovey dovey, rosy, rosy, kissy, kissy, that's it's gonna get, after a while it's going to dissipate. So in those moments, you have to work even harder to make sure the relationship is still spicy, it's still romantic, it's still something to where you're trying to appease each other's love languages and you're trying to make it work, right? So that's what's really important. That in those rocky times, in those times where it's like, man, I just ain't really trying to deal with you. Do you have enough love in your heart to continue to serve your spouse, even in those moments? Because I think the biggest issue with a lot of marriages is that you you feel like you have to have this bubbly feeling to feel like you're in love or that love is perfect. And when that bubbly feeling leave, people want to leave the relationship. It's like, well, you don't make me feel this way no more. So it's time for me to go. And that's not how love works. Once again, love is about serving. It's about unconditional love. It's not about, okay, now I'm not getting what I want. It's time for me to dip. Love is work. It's serving. That's what love is. So I just want y'all to understand that you have to be willing to serve your spouse even when you don't like them at the moment.
Okay, really back in.
Okay, so let's get back on topic. I'll let you start off with handling disputes. What are some things?
I'll start off with things that I have found are not healthy ways.
Okay, you can do
For
that.
me, it's easier for me to list the ways that I figured out are not healthy to handle
Oh
disputes.
yes, please go.
Um, I don't know. I'm a person that like shuts off when we get into our.
Oh,
I don't want to call them arguments, our disputes.
uh-huh.
When we get into our disputes, I'm just like, okay, whatever, and I'm just like walk out the room.
And I think we both have that in common. We just shut down in different ways. Because you'll shut down is like you'll like get angry and like walk off. My shutdown is like,
And I don't think it's anything wrong with walking off. Because sometimes, and I even tell you this, sometimes I'm like, you just need to let me cool down.
That's true too.
Just let me
Sometimes
cool
I won't
down.
let her cool down. Like, no, we're gonna talk about this right now.
And I'm
right
not
now.
this. I'm not the person that I can say extremely irrational things
Bruh.
when I get angry to the point where it's just like, that's why I'm telling you, let
Wasn't
me
healthy.
cool off. That is one thing I have figured out is unhealthy. There's just let me cool off, but that's the thing though. You don't let me cool off. You have to let me cool off because I know where I could potentially lead this conversation to where it's not healthy. So it's like, let me cool off.
Yeah.
But he is aware right now, like, we're going to get to the bottom of this right now, and, oh, this is another way that I figured out it's not healthy.
Okay.
I'll eventually get to the healthy part. But I'm a type of person that I'm not going to, if I mess up in the moment, I need to process what I messed up and then come back and ask for forgiveness. But Shad is the opposite. Like, he is like, oh, if he figured out he messed up or I let him know that he messed up, he can instantly ask for forgiveness. Or say, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, and I'm like, no, you can't. If I just told you what you did was wrong, I need you to process what you did, figure out what to do better next time, and then come back and say, oh, I'm sorry. But if I feel like this instantaneous apology is not sincere, that's just me. I just feel like it's not sincere.
That's always been her thing, is that I don't think it's sincere when you just apologize right on the spot. It's like, that's what you're supposed to do.
But you to me, this is why I disagree, because I feel like you didn't even have time to think about what you were sorry about.
But
that's my thought process, which is not, it don't have to be right, but it's just like, if somebody tell me, oh, you did X, Y, and Z, and you say, oh, well, I'm sorry. It's just like, are you sorry? Because you really didn't even know, 2 seconds you didn't know that it was wrong. And I told you it was wrong, and you automatically sorry. I don't know. Maybe that's a flawed thought process.
And that's just the thing. I think there's validity in that thought process. But me, not saying I'm perfect or that I'm just the most upright man, but I do try to live by the Torah the best way I know how. So if I wrong you, or I fuss at you for no reason, or I'm acting out of character, I can realize, okay, that was wrong. Let me just immediately make it right. So if I see I made you mad or I did something and I know I was wrong, I'm just going to go ahead and admit it, because I think a lot of times that's ego and that's pride. When you just like, you did something wrong, and I'm going to wait a day, I'm going to wait a month, I'm going to wait a couple hours. Okay, I'm so sorry. No, let me just go ahead and get out the way, because I was wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I ain't going to sit there and wait. I'll just go ahead and admit it right then and there. I was wrong. But going back just a little bit, back to the shutting down, that's definitely one of the things that I do. Now, I might not shut down the same way she does, but we both have a lot in common when it comes to shutting down. Like, I might not get angry and shut down. I might like, okay, I'm gone, like she'll do. But what I'll do is, I'll just kind of be like, I'll internalize what's going on.
Not talk,
and I just won't talk for the next 3-4 hours. I'm just going.
I'm like, Shad, what's wrong?
Nothing.
I'm like, okay, that's one thing about me. I'll ask one time, what's wrong? And you say nothing, I'm going about my day. I'm not about to beg you to tell me what's wrong. So, and then and come back 5 hours later, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did that. And it's like, yeah, boy, I've been past that. I think I harbored that in the beginning when we first got married. Yeah. It was something I struggled with. But I'm like, I'm not about to, because we would date, and this is one thing my grandma, and I think people say it all the time, but my grandma told me maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we got married, which was about a month before she passed. She told me, no matter what, like, y'all don't need to go to bed angry. And obviously a lot of people have told that, but it really stuck with me whenever she said it. I've heard that my whole life. But she's like, y'all can be mad at each other all day, but don't go to bed angry. And so it's just like, I never, that is a goal. Obviously, it's times that we have gone to bed mad.
Yeah.
But that is always the goal, is to, like, not go to bed mad. So it's like, even if we haven't resolved whatever issue it was, when I go to bed, I try not to be mad no more. I did not do that well in the beginning. So that is one thing I have learned.
Yeah.
Just to let it go. If it's not, most of the time it don't be dire stuff. It be like arguments over stupid stuff.
Yeah, we got.
But it's just like,
yeah.
let that stuff go. I'm
Yeah.
not about to be mad forever.
Yeah, and because you got to think about it, we do stuff to each other in marriages. You know, we anger each other all the time in marriages, so we have to be willing to forgive. You know, because we both do.
And forget. I mean, it's hard to forget.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to, like, it's never going to not, it's going to come back to your memory. But you can't continue to get re-mad about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, and that's another unhealthy, I'm sorry, continue. I'll save it.
I will save it because we'll get to another one. But yeah, you got to learn how to forgive. You know, because in a marriage, our flaws will come to
It's a
heads.
mirror,
Marriage is a mirror. So each other's flaws, you're going to constantly bump heads because she bring her flaws, I bring my flaws, and we're going to sometimes irritate each other. So that's why it's important to just forgive because we make each other mad. We make each other, we do things to slip up, as far as like maybe getting angry or saying the wrong thing. It happens in marriage because we're flawed human beings. So we have to be willing to forgive. That's what we're supposed to do as believers. So we have to be able to forgive and move forward. If you're holding grudges and you're withholding stuff, it's just going to be an unhealthy marriage. You have to be willing
and
to
you're going to
forgive.
be mad all the time.
All the time.
Like, all
just,
the time.
Especially if just for little stuff, just for no reason.
For no
and I think
reason.
that's one of the things that we dealt with early in our marriage is that we would get mad over the littlest stuff and we'll be mad forever over the littlest stuff.
And I just remember.
And then as soon as you recover, something else little happened. And then next thing you know, you just boiling again. So it's
I
like, that's
remember
not
saying
healthy.
early on when we got married, and I said it multiple times. I just like, I feel like ever since we got married, we were not best friends no more. Because, we started off as best friends, but it's like, that's because when we are best friends and dating, I don't have nothing to nag you about. You in your own space, I'm in my own space. You do your own thing, I do my own thing. But now it's like, once we together, it's like, bro, I feel like I'm nagging all the time. And because you can't nag, obviously, in a relationship, but we didn't live together. So it's like, what am I nagging about? I have nothing to nag about. If at that point, if I got tired of you, if I get to the point, it's like, okay, I'm kind of annoyed at this point. Like, you doing too much. Now I just leave. Like, but there's no leaving in marriage. So
No.
I think that got to the point where it's like, pick your battles. Oh, and when we were going through marital counseling, and I always will remember this. When we was going through marital counseling, we had one of our sessions that we did. We had to do like things that was it good, bad, and ugly. Okay. So you had to list things that were good about your spouse or your potential spouse, things that were bad about your spouse, and things that were ugly. It's not.
Speaking of that list, there was another thing during that session that our mentors told us that I thought was profound. The things on the list, you should be able to love that person even if them flaws never change. Mm-hmm. So are you willing to be with this person if some flaws never change? Because you got to remember, we're human beings, so there may be some flaws that we never, ever change because we're ever evolving. And, there's so many different things about us that needs to change. And sometimes through the course of life, some things might not change. So do you love your spouse enough to where if they keep certain flaws, can you stay? Will you maintain? Can you manage? You have to be able to love your spouse even with flaws. And
I think I agree with that, but I honestly think like going into.
But they should still want to change the flaws, though.
Yeah, and that's what I think. That's what I'm about to say. Going into us being married, it was some things that I would have said were flaws, but now like that we've been married for almost 4 years.
Yeah,
it's like that. It really don't need to be a flaw. It's just a difference in personality. So for me, one thing that was really that I put as ugly when we were in premarital counseling was I feel like your lack of urgency to do, and so it's like now that we living in the same space for this long, it's just like it really is not a flaw. He just don't have to. I asked him to do everything on my time, but my time is not the only time. Like, so it's like it's not a lack of urgency.
I gotta do everything in her time.
Yeah, and it's like
if I don't do it right then and right there, I'm being lazy. It's like, bro, can I do it my time? Why I gotta be right there, right here, and right now?
Why would you wait? And this causes
I'll be in the middle of stuff.
So this is one way that I have learned to have a healthy dispute, because I think I get this from my daddy. My way is the only logical way. And so it's just like I have to really step back and be like, okay, Christiana, your way is not the only logical way.
Right.
But his way just doesn't ever make sense to me.
But sometimes my way work.
Sometimes.
And sometimes I be doing stuff. Why you doing like that? And then it worked. And you got to come back and apologize.
No, but because my way still would have worked. It would have just worked differently.
Whatever. But what are some things, like speaking about the list, what were some of the things that I said were ugly as far as
I don't have any ugly, so I don't know what you said.
I forgot. I'm sure I wrote something down.
That's because I didn't have any.
Whatever.
What are ways that you found that have really helped our arguments be productive? That was really the biggest.
Helped them be productive?
Yeah, because I feel like in the beginning we were just arguing. And I say argue, it was not, we wasn't throwing glass across. It's just like
saying stuff you probably shouldn't say.
Heated discussions.
Saying stuff you probably shouldn't say.
Yeah, in the beginning it was like.
Elevating the tone when it probably shouldn't be elevated. Stuff like that makes the argument a little more hostile than what it needs to be. So I think one of the ways that we've been able to kind of manage our disputes is being able to control our emotions a little better.
I'm a very passionate seeker.
She's passionate.
And anybody that knows me knows
I can get passionate.
I'm loud. I'm one of 7. So I'm just naturally loud, which yes. I don't look loud.
So I'm always thinking that she's getting on to me, even though sometimes she's not getting on to me because she's just loud.
So that's a tip in itself. Mm-hmm. You have to learn how your partner communicates. Because it'll be several, and I think women are annoyed by this in general. It's several times that we're having it's just a discussion. It's not even an argument. It hasn't even escalated to an argument. It just will be a discussion. And I'm loud. I'm always loud.
True.
It's not a time that I don't talk loud.
That's a fact.
And I'm a passionate talker. Mm-hmm. So it's been times that I'm like, we're in a car on the way to the store, like just having a grand old time.
Right.
And we can be talking about sports. It'll be nothing. Like, it's nothing dire, but we can be talking about sports. Mm-hmm. How do you think Ja Morant do XYZ? No, I know he do. And it's like, but then it's like, why are you arguing? I'm like, I'm not arguing.
We'll start over something so small. Stuff.
You like to assume that I'm angry when I'm not angry. I'm just a passionate talker.
I guess that's true too. But sometimes I be feeling like your whole mood changed. So that's why I be feeling like be angry because your whole tone.
Because you, and I've explained to this, because anytime we're having a discussion, this is just difference in opinions.
I say it like it's fact.
That's a discussion. Yes, it is. So
I just speak my opinion very strongly.
No, a healthy discussion is.
She think I'm talking like it's fact.
No, a healthy discussion is one person verbalizing their opinion and another person verbalizing their opinion. That's a discussion.
Right.
Shad verbalizes his opinion, all caps, as facts, all caps. So yes, it is, and so that is what. No, that's fact.
But anyways, let's get to the healthy ways. We've been talking about the unhealthy stuff for a long time. So I say definitely being able to control your emotions and redirect helps a lot when you're dealing with marital disputes. So what are some things that you would say are some healthy ways to handle some disputes other than what we've talked about? Right.
I think the number one way that I found out early on that I have to handle situations is if something bothers me, I have to address it in the moment. Because otherwise, it'll I'll stack up. And I think women do that. Like, I keep receipts in my head.
Women.
It's not receipts.
Women, stop keeping
receipts in my head. I'm like, oh, you did that. I'm making note of it. Oh, you did that. I'm making note of that too. And so I just wait for 3 months to pass. It literally was like every 3 months. When we first got married, it was like every 3 months. I'm like, you know what? It's time to unload the clip because you've been doing too much stuff. And so then it would be like blow ups. We would have blow ups like every 3 months. And then the conversation would eventually end up being productive because it's like, bro, you could have just said, I was doing X, Y, Z. I had no idea. You could have said I did X, Y, Z. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. And so then we would end up talking out what the frustration was or whatever the issue in my head that I had made up. And so that was the biggest thing with me. It's just like, just say it in a moment. If it annoy you in a moment, just say it in a moment. I just was scared of you thinking I was nagging all the time because I had stuff to say.
Yeah.
And obviously, that was before we realized like how different our living situations were before getting together. And so it was more like annoying differences than obviously it was not life or death.
Right.
But that was the biggest thing with me. I just don't, if it annoys you right now, and it's big enough. It's a big enough issue.
Right.
Then just say it
Yeah, I would say also to think before you act, think before you speak.
before you say anything.
Because there's so many times where you want to be petty with your spouse because they did A, B, and C to you. Please do not do that. It's going to make the situation 10 times worse by being petty. Do not bring pettiness to your marriage. It's not healthy. It's not going to help the situation. It's not going to help evolve or move forward anything. I say it all the time when Chris say something foul, say something crazy, like, okay, Chris, was that productive? Now, you saying that, did that help the situation?
And then
So you have
it helped me get my thoughts
yeah,
clear.
get your thoughts out, whatever. So think before you act, think before you speak, because there's been plenty of times where you act out of emotion and you just say stuff that causes a even bigger argument. So just because there's sometimes we be like, let's say you feel like your spouse did something wrong. Dang, why you do that? Dang, what made you do that for? And so you get to doing all that, and now all of a sudden you're in this big old fire pit of an argument.
That didn't have to do nothing.
They didn't have to really do nothing because what you saying that didn't encourage her, didn't encourage him.
Yeah.
You putting extra fire on them already feeling bad about them doing something bad. Now it's like, why you do that? It's like now it's like, dang, I ain't mean to. And so sometimes stuff like that happens too.
I think the biggest thing that I had to learn was just like learning. And arguments. You're gonna have arguments. You're gonna have discussions in any relationship,
Yeah.
platonic or romantic. There's just when you put two thinking adults or kids in a room together, you're gonna have a discussion or an argument at some point.
At some point. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I had to like come to grips with is to learn to have arguments that are productive, not arguments that hurt. Like your goal in the argument to be to get your point across. What is on your mind, to get something to change. Your goal in argument should not be to hurt the other person. Because it's been times that I'm like, I didn't obviously start the argument. I don't think I'm that malicious, but I didn't start the argument to hurt you.
It's just
but
sometimes
in the course of the argument, I'm like,
it just kind of get there because you get
Yeah.
heated, you kind of
I'm
get
that
emotional.
mad that at this point,
You
I
know
can
what?
do
I'm gonna hit you where it hurt,
where it
and I
hurt.
do that sometimes too. We both sometimes will do that, but we've gotten better at stuff like that.
Much better.
As far as like speaking out of turn or like speaking out of emotion, you got to be able to hone in them feelings. Because a lot of times you'll want to act out of rage, but you have to be able to think before you do stuff.
And step away. I mean, I
Sometimes
said earlier,
if you need to
you
for a
have
minute,
to step away sometimes.
if you need to.
That's not everybody like MO in arguments, but sometimes you just need to step away.
That's
like,
true.
To calm down. I'm a not as much anymore, but if in the beginning, I'm a stressed crier, like an angry crier.
Oh yeah.
And so when I get to the point where I'm crying, just stop speaking. Just stop speaking to me right now, because if I'm crying, then I get that from my mama because she angry crier too. But if I get to the point where I'm mad enough to cry, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
Just let me stop crying because I'm not about to be rational right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I think too another thing, just me, I gotta bring it back to the scriptures. So I think another thing, obviously we've seen the scriptures where, we are to love our wives like Christ loved loved his people, or loved the church, or loved the congregation. Right? So we have to have, the same way, the Messiah loved his people, through good, bad, and different, spitting on them, treating them bad, talking behind his back, all that kind of stuff. He still had love and served and did the best he could to make sure everybody was appeased and happy and fulfilled. That's the same way, especially men, I'm talking to the men. It's the same way we are to be to our wives. So, no matter how they're making us feel at that moment, or no matter how the relationship is going at that particular moment, we have to keep that same level of love. We have to be consistent with our wives, fellas. Be consistent, because consistency goes a long way, because there's going to be things that don't necessarily go our way, or, there's going to be some bumps in the road in relationships, but we have to continue to serve and love our wives, love our children, love our household. Because when we're consistent and when we're stable, it stabilizes everything, because we know women are the weaker vessel, not, saying that they're less than, but we do know women have those intricate, delicate, characteristics. We know that as far as the emotion and the higher level of thinking and the complex thinking. You know, men were more straightforward, we're more narrow. Women have more of a complex thought, thought pattern. So men, we have to be stable. Since we're more straightforward, we have to be stable and love on our wives regardless of what's going on. Because when we're stable, even through the chaos and even through the arguments and even through the disputes and even through the I ain't really liking you right now, even I ain't feeling you, it just I don't know about you right now. Through all that, as long as we're stable and we're loving the way we're supposed to, we're serving the way we're supposed to, we're taking care of business the way we're supposed to, then it'll stabilize everyone else in the household. They'll see how stable we are, and then they'll follow suit. You know.
Yeah, I think that's true, and that's why I think it's important for women, both women and men, but I'm gonna speak from my perspective, to pray for God to send them who they need, because I can like go from 0 to 10 real quick, very quick, and Shad is like the complete opposite. So that really balances us out, because I can imagine some of these like disputes that we've had. If he would have escalated to the level that I escalated, it would have got ugly real fast. But he just really slow to anger, and I really appreciate that about you, because I be on 10 sometimes, and so it's just to be able to we really balance each other out in that, because in this time it's been times that I'm just like go there in the beginning for sure. It's just like I want you to be as passionate about whatever we discussing. Like I feel like you don't care because you're not going there with me, and then it's just like one that's toxic as heck. But it's just that he remained calm. Not to say you always remain calm. It's been times. Yeah. It's been times that you will ramp up too, but it's way more times than not. He gonna balance me out to be like, okay, Christiana, you screaming, and he not screaming back. So just chill out.
Yeah, and she balanced me out whenever I'm like maybe lackluster or not having urgency. She brings that side where she puts fire in me to kind of be a go getter. So we both balance each other out in a lot of ways. Where she's kind of always on a hyper go. I kind of like get her to chill, where I'm real chill. She can kind of give me okay, go. So give me a go. So we definitely balance each other out in that aspect. So is there anything else that you would like to say?
Yeah, this was this was slightly different than our other ones.
Yeah, because our other ones was definitely more structured. It had point. But this one was like kind of just like, let's just talk.
Yeah, that really was just let's just talk. I think that's how this conversation first came about, was like sitting down talking to our friends, our married friends, and just be like, is this normal? Is this how y'all handle dispute? Because so it just was a conversation.
Yeah, because at first it felt like a lot of stuff we was going through was like abnormal. Like, man, do married couples go through stuff like this? But then being around other married couples, you'll come to find that disputes are normal.
It's gonna be because you don't like each other.
All right, so
we gotta switch cameras.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I think it's important when you do have disputes, that positive or negative, like healthy or non-healthy, even learn from the unhealthy disputes. Like if something bothered you in the way that the dispute was handled, just say like, Sean, I didn't appreciate how you did X, Y, Z, or I hate when we have arguments and then your whole mood change for the rest of the day. Like communicate those things, because sometimes you don't realize how much you bring from like how you argue or how you handle disputes with your family. You don't realize that until you get faced with being around somebody else that's not in your family. Yeah. And so it's just like they don't think, not to say it's toxic, but they don't handle disputes in a way that you might handle. You and your family might handle disputes. Yeah. And so you will think nothing of it. It's just like, that's what we do. If somebody mad at each other, we just don't talk. And so it's like, but that might not be healthy in this relationship. It's probably not healthy in any relationship, but that's not beneficial for this relationship. So you have to really discuss, like, okay, I don't appreciate how you don't say anything for 3 months and then come back up and blow up in my face. Like, I don't appreciate that. So that's something we got to work on, not to handle disputes in that way, because it's not healthy.
Yeah.
So you just communicate.
Communication is key in relationships. So, if you have a gripe or if you have a problem, say something. Because holding stuff in is going to also bring toxicity within a relationship. So being willing to say stuff when you feel wronged or when you feel upset, say something, get it out. You need communication, because when you communicate, it gives the other person the opportunity to improve on what it is that you want them to improve on. It's gonna because here's the thing about the process of improving, because there's going to be things that you want your spouse to improve in. So if you hold stuff in, it's going to stunt that process. I'm just going to let you know that. If you hold stuff in for months and months and years, and every time something happens, you want to hold it in and put it in your memory bank, you're holding up the process of your spouse improving. So you have to be willing to communicate. That way you at least give your spouse a chance or an opportunity to improve on whatever it is you want them to improve on.
Because they don't see themselves. We are in a marriage. I am the mirror for him, and he is the mirror for me.
Yep.
So if I don't ever show him his reflection by letting him know what he's doing wrong or what he can improve on, he will never see it. We have to be that reflection.
We have blind spots.
Yeah.
Each person has blind spots, things that they're doing that they don't know that they're doing. So you have to communicate and let them know. Even if they might not like it, you still at least be able to communicate it.
Yeah.
And if they don't like what you're communicating, then it might be a red flag. And it might not be a red flag. Sometimes it takes a while to process sometimes too. So you just never know. But you got to be willing to communicate though. Even if it's something that, may cause a heated discussion. But, sometimes it's necessary for growth, for improvement.
And you have to foster, we supposed to be closing, but
it's okay. This is all good.
You have to foster, even while dating, this is before marriage, we got to the point where we had healthy communication between each other that we could say, like, oh, I think that you need to improve on this. That is important to have that healthy line of communication, because if you don't feel like you can tell somebody about themselves, and not in a bad way, but if I don't feel comfortable to tell you when I know there's something you need to improve on, that's not the healthiest situation to be in. Because in marriage, it's gonna be times where somebody needs to tell you about yourself.
Yeah.
More times than you probably want somebody to tell you about yourself.
That's
and
fair.
so you have to foster that relationship with your significant other for you to feel comfortable to tell them. I feel more than comfortable to tell Shad what he needs to improve
That's
on.
a fact, Jack.
Probably too comfortable. But it's the same way. Like, Shad is more than comfortable to tell me, Chris, you tripping on that. Like, we not doing that. Or you shouldn't be doing that. Or do better in this. You do X, Y, and Z too much. So, but we fostered that relationship before we even got to marriage. That was something we practiced while we were dating.
Yeah.
Was being able to... It's a weird territory to chart in the beginning, because it's like, ooh, are we like deep enough to be like telling what I need you to improve on? And it also becomes where like I don't want to tell you what you need to improve on, because I know I got to improve on some stuff, so I don't want you to attack me. Like, I'm just not gonna say nothing because I don't want you to
That's
try
true.
to say I'm not perfect, so I don't want you to tell me what
We're
I'm doing.
afraid of our flaws being exposed. So
Yeah.
sometimes we try to do things to hide our own flaws, which causes tension in relationships too. Because then you play the blame game and, try to compare each other's righteousness
Basically.
to a point, and then that
You
causes
do
arguments
this.
too. When you do that, why are you telling me about this? You be doing A, B, and C. It's like, no, that's not what we talked about. We're talking about you right now. Don't bring that up yet. Don't be trying to be petty. Let's just listen to what I'm saying, internalize it, and let's move forward. Okay, yes, you were right. I'll do better, So that's true too. So I'll close with this. Since marriages and relationships are mirrors of ways we need to improve in God, you got to understand that we are image bearers of God. The Most High made us in His image. So we have to treat each other with respect, because God made each and every last one of us to be an image bearer, to mimic Him, to be like Him. So if we want to be like Him and we want to be like Yahshua and all that kind of stuff, we have to treat His creation with respect. We have to treat His creation as if they're delicate and that their soul is important and that we want the best for them. You know, so it's important that you look at relationships like that, like a mirror of how you're supposed to act, of how a mirror of how you need to fix your flaws, like a mirror of how you need to carry yourself. You know, so it's good to think of relationships like that, because when you think of it in that manner, then you'll do your best to make sure that you're doing your very best for your spouse. You know, because you got to remember, you have to take care of what God has made. He made all of us to be special. You know, so you have to take care of your spouse like an image bearer of God, because if you treat that image bearer of God with disrespect, then you're disrespecting the Most High. When you disrespect your spouse, you disrespect God. When you disrespect, you know, and mistreat those you love, you disrespect the Most High. You gotta think of it like that, you know. And that's why marriage is so important, because it shows you your flaws and it shows you how you need to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta think of it like that. Good. Anything else you want to add to that?
You said enough.
All right. So this has been Shabbat Conversations with the Avads, episode 3. Episode 3 now. It just feels monumental. You know, I ain't think it was gonna last this long, but we here. So.
I got 2 more episodes of you.
Oh please, no. We gotta at least do a season worth. At least season 1 worth.
That's 5 episodes.
You know, a season usually like around 10 episodes.
Not these. It's a limited series.
Whatever. No, these folks want this stuff. Anyways, so this has been good. Shalom to the family.
Shalom.
See y'all next time.